Hi, and welcome to Inside Baker. My name is Tricia Shelton, and I'm going to be the host. Today, our guests are going to include the Baker University Archivist Brenda, the president of Earth We Are, Jordan Olson, and yearbook editor Wes Michael. So let's get started with our interview with Brenda. Hi, Brenda. Thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Tricia. Thank you for having me.
Good, not a problem. So as far as being the university archivist, what exactly does your job entail?
My job entails taking care of not only Baker University history, but also the history of the United Methodist Church. And that's truly exciting because we've now joined the archives of both the Kansas West and the Kansas East here at Baker University, and we're going to call it the Kansas Area United Methodist Archives. And we're hoping that that will provide much better research services for the students. There will be opportunities to do really cool original research in the archives.
Are there any classes that you have planned, maybe where students would go into the archives and just do research, or?
We do have several classes on tap, but probably the most famous or infamous here at Baker University is the Historical Research Methods class that's required of history students, and we will have them in there in the fall, and they will do an entire research project over the course of a semester.
And what are some of the topics that they might be researching?
Their topics range from everything from Methodism to Kansas history to John Brown and the abolitionists to the Battle of Blackjack to Baker University to sports. Sports is always a big topic for Baker students. They're always interested in the history of football and the history of basketball. And we have such a glorious history of sports here at Baker that that's a really fertile topic for them.
So basically anything at all?
Basically, yes, anything at all.
And what can you tell us about the 150th birthday celebration that's coming up? I know this month we're observing the 149th, so...
Oh, yeah. We're really excited about celebrating Baker's 150th birthday. We're the oldest university in the state of Kansas, formed before Kansas even became a state. So to be able to celebrate the 150th is really exciting. We've been working on it for well over a year and a half now, almost close to 2 years. The committee started really small with 4 or 5 people and has blossomed to include people from the School of Professional and Graduate Studies, the School of Nursing, the School of Education, and of course students here at the College of Arts and Sciences, and pretty much every department on campus.
So you do serve on the committee?
I do serve on the committee in several capacities, mostly as a history consultant to make sure that facts are straight and that old photos are being scanned and used in a proper manner.
So what can you tell us about your work with the Baldwin Signal and the Lawrence Journal World?
Well, the Lawrence Journal World and the Baldwin City Signal have both agreed to run a series of Baker facts, if you will, a history section that will include Baker at 150, Baker at 100, and so we'll pull facts throughout the course of Baker's history that will illuminate both student activity and administration, classes, community things that were going on with Baker throughout the years.
And is that something that they approached you about, or did you approach them and say this would be a good idea?
That's a good question. Actually, we approached them with the idea because we have such a long history, and we have looked at their history through the years and thought we could do that. Since we're as old as these papers and older than these papers, we should be able to fill that out for a year. So we went to them and asked them if they would be interested in something like this, and of course they were kind enough to agree to this. So now it's just trying to get enough facts to fill out a whole year's worth of Baker information.
Are you struggling to find enough facts, or is there plenty of information for you?
There's plenty of information. It's finding information that both fits the needs of the administration and is interesting enough for the students, but not so colorful that I get letters from the administration.
Can you maybe share with us some of the facts that might be featured in some of the papers?
There's just so many of them. From the very beginning, talking about the forming of the Kansas Educational Association of the Methodist Episcopal Church, and the first sermon that was preached to settlers here on July the 9th of 1854, when the territory was only open on May the 30th. So that's 6 weeks. That's a really outstanding fact to be able to pull out to people and say, we were here from the very beginning. So there's everything from that to sports, about the first women's basketball game here at Baker. Oddly enough, it was covered by the Kansas City Star, but the university was afraid about how something like girls in bloomers would affect young men. So the young men were not allowed to view the first basketball game by women here at Baker.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So it kind of runs the gamut. There's everything from the fun and really cool to the wow.
Is there a particular fact that you think might be the most interesting, or maybe interesting for students to hear?
Oh, there are so many facts that you can pull out that would amaze and interest students, I think, from the fact that there was a woman in the first graduating class, to the fact that when Taft was here to talk about the first proclamation in favor of world peace, lots of people have seen that, but if you look at the picture that we're going to run, what's really interesting is the gentleman with him, who was Taft's aide, was named Major Archibald Butt. Well, of course, after you get over the giggles of his name, Archibald Butt, then you get into the fact that he was the guy who went down on the Titanic. After he finished this tour, United States tour with Taft, Taft told him to take a vacation, and he took the Titanic. And he's the man who is shown in the movies, and actually was, standing at the head of the ship, keeping the young men from crowding the lifeboats so that the women and children could get into the lifeboats. And he put on his military dress and had the band strike up and play. So he was very calm and very gentlemanly, even in the face of death.
So it probably wasn't the best vacation choice for him.
Probably not. Probably not.
But he visited Baker with Taft.
Yes, and he's in most all of the pictures, and you can't miss him. He's a very tall man with a very erect military bearing and military dress, epaulets on his shoulders and things, but yeah, he was Taft's aide.
So back to the birthday celebration, if students want to get involved in that, what would be a capacity that someone they could talk to come get involved?
Probably their best contact would be some of the student representatives, but they can call anybody. I would suggest calling either me or Annette Galuzzi, but of course you can always contact Hans Broers. He's a student representative who's working very hard on trying to involve Baker students in the celebration, but we're open to just about anything that students want to do. There's everything from wildcat cutout contest, where you can decorate a wildcat, and your sorority or fraternity or your dorm house, your dorm room, you guys can adopt one of the wildcats and decorate it, and we're going to have a contest, and then the winners will be in the Maple Leaf Parade. So there's a whole year's worth of celebration going to be happening here in the next year, whereas in the past they only had 1 day or 2 days where they celebrated Baker's birthday.
Now, what about when we had the 100th anniversary? Was that as big a deal as this?
Oh yes, because it and will again closely relate to Kansas anniversary and centennial and sesquicentennial. Back then it was, of course, Kansas centennial. So at that time they had Governor Docking. Yes, Governor Docking. There was a whole family of Dockings who were involved in Kansas politics, so you have to be careful. It was George Docking. Later on, his son Robert was also governor of Kansas, so that's why you saw me kind of stumble and go, wait a minute, it was George Docking who was governor of Kansas. He actually came here and spoke at Baker. They had the Kansas City Philharmonic here, and Docking actually made some jokes about dealing with the legislature, that he was here missing some arguments, some wrangling that was going on with the Kansas legislature.
Okay, all right. Well, that's all really interesting information. Thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And now we're going to take a short break, but stay with us because we're going to be talking to Earth We Are President Jordan Olson.
I like to look at the sports section and look at my favorite Baker teams and all the scores and updates.
I'm reading the Baker Orange for all the news.
I read it for the arts and entertainment, the CD reviews.
All over campus or online at www.thebakeraorange.com.
Because it covers all the important stuff.